Good evening, good evening, good evening. What's going on, Uncommon World? Hey guys, this is Coach Clavon. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Mondays. We are pretty fired up and excited, guys. As you can see on our ticker, man, this is episode 25. And, we've started something phenomenal, and we're getting such great feedback. So we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us this evening and being part of this uncommon movement. And I got to ask you, as we always do, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel, be a part of the movement, add on in any way that you can. And if you're watching this on some of our other social media outlets, whether the Facebook group or LinkedIn or any other of the profiles, guys, please share the broadcast, like the broadcast, make comments, because we're going to continue bringing you this uncommon experience. And it's been really, really awesome. So, as we always do, we like to start off Uncommon Mondays with just an inspired, kind of like word of the day, or just hear from Mr. Putnam, who's always bringing some real powerful, insightful thoughts. And so I'm going to bring up to the front co-host and partner in victory, Mr. Dan Putnam. Dan, let me unmute you, buddy. Can you unmute your mic?
I got it.
There we go. Hey, listen, Dan, man, I'll tell you, there's a lot of excitement out there. There's a lot of exciting things going on, and we got a great guest tonight. But how you feeling, bro? What's the word of the day?
Man, I'm excited. So much good going on, like you mentioned. I heard something that just got me thinking a little bit, and they were talking, I think it was Kobe Bryant. And he said that he thinks one of the biggest things that keeps people from becoming great is that they're afraid to really go all in on something that has no guarantees.
Huh.
And that's one of the things that I was just kind of thinking about. So many people, they don't want to put in any effort. They don't want to go and push everything and do everything unless they're guaranteed. That's why they're looking for that job. They go work an hour and they make X number of dollars. They work another hour, they make X number of dollars. And that so many times can be the biggest thing that's holding you back. And when you really think about that, Clavon, the thing that people are doing is they're letting somebody else determine your worth. Clavon, you're worth $18 an hour, or you're worth $15 an hour. And one of the biggest things with this uncommon movement and what our goals are is to put people in a situation that nobody will ever tell them what they're worth. Nobody will ever tell them, you're not tall enough, you're not fast enough, you don't look good enough, you don't speak clear enough, you're not a good enough communicator, you're not good enough looking, whatever the case may be. We're putting people in a position of power where they make the decisions. And that's what I'm most excited about is just empowering people 16 and up and really taking our message to the world. If you look at it, the reason we call this uncommon is because the common thing is to just struggle along life, and just live day to day, week to week, and just, struggle until you die. There's a saying that is one of my least favorite: life sucks and then you die. And to me, it's the opposite. Life is so amazing. We live in 2024. Clavon, just think about it. I was playing in a charity golf tournament on Saturday, and I'm sitting there it's up on the mountain. The view's absolutely beautiful. The sky was perfectly blue. The Great Salt Lake, just looking at it out there, and just seeing the entire city. And I'm sitting there, and the only thing that I could think of, I was like, I can't even fathom how any of this happened. 200 years ago, nothing was here. And my office is right by Air Force Base, Hill Air Force Base. So every single day, 5, 6, 7, 10 times per day, those F-35s and those massive jets, they call it the sound of freedom. Because it's a little bit annoying because it shakes the entire building when they fly over. But when I was just thinking, I was looking at my cell phone on the tee box, I think on like the 12th hole. And I was like, every single thing that I can see here was made from what I'm standing on. How is that even possible? I mean, 200 years ago, it was just like dirt and trees. And now you have these warplanes that can basically blow up the entire earth that were made out of that. The cell phones that we're talking on, made out of that, made out of the dirt and the rocks. And I mean, have you ever thought about that? It's unbelievable. How is that even possible? The cars, everything that we have is made out of, dirt, rocks, water, frequency, energy. It just kind of blew my mind, and it made me so grateful to be here in 2024, where literally I could be anywhere in the world from Salt Lake City in 36 to 48 hours.
Right.
And you go back 200 years ago, I wouldn't be leaving the state. There wouldn't even be a state. I would just be struggling, so when I think of that, life sucks and then you die, or all these people struggling and just barely getting by and not living the life that they're capable of. And when I go back, not getting into, in any type of religion or anything like that, but my personal belief is, we were all somewhere before here. And I personally think it's kind of like a sporting event. You're down there watching all these people play this game, and you're on the sideline, and you're sitting there saying, man, put me in. I want to show you what I can do. I want to show you what I'm capable of. And then when, we're born and we come out, all of a sudden, all that memory is forgotten. We no longer know who we are. We no longer remember all of those things. We don't remember maybe those promises that we made and decisions that we made to come down and show what we're capable of. So I look at that as, okay, now we're here. How are we doing? Every single human being has absolutely unbelievable potential. Look at what's been created by humans that are made basically identical to you and me.
Right.
And so that's really the thing that I've been thinking about, and the thing that I'm excited about is just empowering people, showing them, what they're capable of, what they can do. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to bring on these uncommon men that have, succeeded in different areas, and find out the secrets and find out the nuggets of what they've done in order to, have the success that they've had. And so it's just one of those things, success leaves clues. That's just a fact. It's one of the strongest success principles is I can see what other people have done to become successful. And then I can do those same things and also become successful. Success isn't by accident. Success is a choice. Success is a process. And we're showing that by doing this podcast every single Monday, our 25th episode.
Yeah.
We're a half of a year into this, and we're already seeing these 25 uncommon men have almost everything in common. Slightly different backgrounds, some different mindsets and things like that, but way more in common than not. And just like I say, almost every week, Clavon, if we were doing the opposite,
right,
and we were interviewing people that were struggling and people that were, failing and giving up, we would find the same thing. We would find commonalities in these people that aren't being successful, just like we find commonalities in the people that are being successful. And that proves that it's a process. We are where we are because of the exact decisions and choices and actions that we take day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out. So we're exactly where we are from the decisions we've made, the actions we've taken over the last several months, years, or decades. And that can change. One of my favorite sayings, it can change, but nothing changes if nothing changes. Meaning, if you just keep doing the same thing, nothing's going to change for you. So we continue to do this week after week, and we will month after month, year after year, so that you can see that, hey, you have the choice to be as successful as you want, to live the life of your dreams. It's your decisions. It's your actions, it's your perseverance, it's your mindset. And that's really what this movement's all about, is just letting people have the opportunity to hear the process of success. And so let's go ahead and get started with our guest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, tonight, I'll tell you something. We have been on fire, boy. We've had some extraordinary guests, and this thing is heating up. And I tell you, Mr. Brett Coffey, it's really an honor to have you on here. Heard some great things about you, a little due diligence myself, and you are definitely an uncommon gentleman. We have you on the marketing flyer as a global entrepreneur, but so much more that you've done and seen. And I know you got an amazing story. And, we want to just kind of take our time in the beginning before we, ask you some questions. But we just really want to get some insight, Brett, on your background, whatever you feel like sharing. We'd really love to just kind of hear an overview of, where'd you grow up? How'd you grow up? Some of the pivotal moments of your youth that helped shape you in your adolescence. But if someone was to ask, who is, Brett, Coffey, go ahead and take it from there, partner.
Hey, you bet. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. My born in Toronto, Canada,
Okay.
and moved back and forth from Toronto to Vancouver because of my dad. And that really set me up for a bunch of things, like being an introvert, having a set of friends when you're in, grade school, then moving across the country, starting again, then moving back across the country and starting again. And then the last time that we came out, I was, 16 years old. And I was kind of done. I had an attitude and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to, I don't want to participate in this move. So I was very reclusive, introvert. I mean, if you talk to my wife, she would tell you that, if he could be on an island by himself with his family and never see or talk to anybody, that's the way he would go. But, I ended up gravitating to hockey. How Canadian is that? And I really excelled. I didn't start playing till I was 15. And by the time I was 16, I was on, if you know anything about hockey, I was playing with Brett Hull. I was on the Montreal Canadian scouting list. Mark Messier's cousin, I played goal and really went all in and really excelled.
Wow.
I ended up getting to the point where I probably played 300 nights out of 365 in a year because, back then people would ask like, hey, we don't have a goalie. Can you play? Can you play? Can you come out? And, no goalies, no game. And I know Dan played junior as well. So we have that in common. But, that part of my life, I just excelled at it. It was like all in. Now, 40 years later, my body's paying the price a little bit for that all in. Knees, shoulders, wrists. It's just the price you pay. But when you're all in on something, that's what you do. Like you sacrifice. And I sacrificed my body to be who I could be in hockey. And going to high school in North Vancouver, I actually met my wife. And next June 15th, we'll have been married 40 years. So that's a very uncommon thing amongst people in general, right? To be in a relationship that long. And I had the opportunity to actually go and live with the Messiers back in Alberta from hockey.
Oh, wow.
And one day driving by in a car after high school, Megan, her girlfriend, came by and I saw her again in this, tight purple t-shirt, green eyes. It was like, not going to Alberta. done with that plan B over here. So, we started to date and we got married young, like at 22 years old. And we've been together for 40 years, best friends, can hang out all the time. Absolutely, love being together. She has a dog walking business currently. So we go hiking in the outback. Dan's seen some of the pictures, and
Nice.
some great stories of some of the animals you run into there, bears and deer and coyotes, and ton of fun. But in between that, I actually went and got my license to be able to cut hair.
Hmm.
And probably most people on here won't know this movie, but there was a movie called Shampoo with Warren Beatty and a buddy of mine, and we were going to go and open a shop, and it was all based on cutting women's hair. This was sort of in the plan stages before Megan came along. And you can go reference the movie, and it'll explain what the goal was out of that shop. But I ended up leaving the haircutting industry to go work in the music industry. And my dad was the third employee of a company, and I guess the equivalent in the US would be Guitar Center. The equivalent up here, it was called Long McQuaid Music. So in the summers, I would work for him in shipping. And then I ended up actually going, taking some accounting courses, and I became the bookkeeper there. And then I eventually ended up running my own location.
Mm.
Non-musician, couldn't play an instrument, and my life depended on it. But my background with business and with some network marketing things and some of the people that I was learning and training under all helped me grow. So I was really good at hiring people, not because I was a musician, but I could recognize talent. So I could figure out, where's the hole in our organization in the store, hire the right person. And one of the first questions I always asked was, if we were the same age, would we have partied in high school? Would we have had some fun and connected? And if there's no chance, I never hired them. So we had a ton of fun in that location, having just some great people there to work with. My dad had been with the company, almost 40 years. And it was interesting because the company went through changes like so many other companies. It became, I left when I was 50 years old. I had peaked it to where I could go. I couldn't get any higher. I was running a location. We were one of the most profitable stores, couldn't move up anymore. And, my dad was on his way out. He ended up getting cancer and passing away, 12, 13 years ago of cancer. And best friends, loved sports, always over at his place watching football and hockey. I was a mess for 2 years. And I wanted to go be with him in his last 6 months. I was like, I need 6 months off. Company wouldn't give it to me. So I walked away from a 27-year career of, great business, lots of friends. I've got awards in here saying best boss ever. And, we'd do things like have ball hockey games in the parking lot. We'd have poker nights, and nobody else was doing that. So when he passed away, I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I was going to be able to make it through with the pile theory. Because he died, we got an inheritance. I didn't know what I was going to do, but the pile theory went away pretty quick. When there's nothing coming in and you're living off the pile, it goes away fast.
Yeah.
So, but that job, I got to party with Bon Jovi, Motley Crue. It's a good thing there weren't iPhones back in those days. A bunch of us would not be around. But we had The Rock film in our location. So I got to hang out with him. So I got to meet some really cool, unique people and get really interesting perspectives on, life and how they lived life and what they did. And, The Rock is a really cool dude.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To hang out with him in the acoustic room and let him play guitar and fire some questions at him about why he couldn't make it in football for, in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah.
So good times there. But once I left, I needed to do something, and I didn't know what it was. prior to that, I had gotten into a network marketing business company out of Ada, Michigan, a little soap company from back in the day. And I only got in because I did the math. The receptionist that worked for me, she said, you can, love to sell you this product at $60. Great. Well, what's the wholesale price? 40. And what does it cost to join? So I did the math. And if I had joined, I would have saved $60 over the course of the year buying the product every month. So that's how I got into network marketing. And it really, really helped it got me in front of people and having to do things where I would have never done them before, like getting in front of people and speaking and getting on. It wasn't Zooms back then, because back in the day we had to drive everywhere, sit down, be in a gym or an auditorium or a room in a hotel and connect with people. What we have today, like Dan was saying in his intro, it's just so amazing to me that here we can be on this platform changing lives, where if I wanted to be with my mentor, I had to drive 6 hours down past Seattle. And that was a common thing every month. Like leave work at 4 o'clock, get out early, drive down to hit a meeting at 7, 8 o'clock, and go to the meeting after the meeting, because you only got to be around these champions so often. Like it wasn't like you were going to pick up, you were going to get on a Zoom or a StreamYard or YouTube and connect with people. So I ended up coming, I'd get back at 5 or 6 in the morning.
Brett, what year was that?
Gosh, 1992, 93, somewhere in there.
So what was long distance from Canada to the US at that time? Like if you wanted to call somebody, do you have any recollection?
Oh yeah, it was like if you used I had cell phone bills that were like $1,000.
Yeah, just as an example, like what you're talking about, the time, I opened up an office. I don't remember the year. It was probably 2004-ish, something like that. And but it was before unlimited long distance and all of that. And one of the things that we was doing was auto dialing. Back when those annoying auto dialers were going, and you would answer the phone and it was just a message, and it would basically say, play a little thing, hit 9 to, be taken off the list, hit 8 to be connected to a live person, hit, whatever. So I had set up in my office 24 phone lines. Wow. And we were calling out like 12 hours a day, because we had a little server, like I don't know exactly what it was as a computer, but it just had the lines before VoIP.
Right.
And they literally were delivering my phone bill in one of those big paper boxes. Like you buy computer paper and you pull it up. And there were months we had spent $20,000 to $24,000 on the phone bill to build our network marketing business, and just crazy. Then we went probably about 2 years later, we went to VoIP, and we were calling out 100 lines. So we had 100 lines calling out 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, calling, prospecting, this machine that we built. And our total cost to run that was literally maybe $500 or $600 a month.
Wow.
So it's just amazing, like you're saying, the things that you had to do. I got started in network marketing in February of 1993, 18 years old, freshman in college. Right. And so the only way that we could get information to people was to mail it to them. And when I was in college, none of us even had long distance. We just got normally if we needed to call home or call our parents or something, we just call collect. And long distance was, 27, 30 cents a minute. I can't imagine what it was calling from Canada to the US, probably, $1 or more. So it is pretty amazing how technology in some ways has made business so much stronger, where you're in Canada, I'm in Utah, Clayvon's in Texas, and we're all communicating to the entire world right now. The World Wide Web is global in almost every single country. and live streaming on Facebook and live streaming on YouTube and other things. One other thing I want to point out, Clayvon, that I didn't mention, that I just want to point out to all of the viewers, probably within the next month, we'll be switching platforms, and that'll put us on Apple Music, Spotify, pretty much every platform that you can imagine. So we are going to be making some upgrades here shortly. One question before we kind of get into these 5 principles of Uncommon. Is there anything that you learned that you could share, business-wise, whether it was perseverance, whether it was confidence, whether it was belief in themselves, anything that you learned from any of the rock stars? Obviously, they have a different lifestyle. It's not like running a normal business, but they still have to have some belief in themselves to keep pushing and going. Just as an example, I've always liked a band called Switchfoot. Not sure if you ever heard them or met with them at all, but I went to a Switchfoot concert. It was kind of like their 20-year reunion of kind of their first big hit, and they were kind of talking about they thought they had a record deal, so they dropped out of college. They went out to New York and thought everything was done. They thought that it was a given. They went out there and met with the producers, and they said, you know what, we just don't think you guys got it. And they'd already dropped out of school. They thought everything was done and
Right.
everything was going to be good. And they were so discouraged that they were just gonna, what do? We got to kind of go back home with our tails between our legs. We already told all of our friends, told all of our family. We dropped out of college that we was going to do this, and they just said, hey, let's just go all in. And then they recorded their own album and got it out there. And this was kind of the anniversary tour of that first album that they did. So I'm sure that if you find out how all of those bands started, whether it was, Kiss or Motley Crue or any of those, there was a lot of stuff that they had to do that's similar to being, successful in business, even though the lifestyle that they probably were living at the time and touring the world and stuff like that is a little unconventional. But anything that you learned from them or heard from them, or The Rock is an amazing story, and I see him all the time on Instagram, singing and stuff like that. So I know music's a big part of his life also.
Yeah, the biggest thing always is they're all in.
Yeah.
There is no going backwards. It's like all in. There's a great, if you're into the Bon Jovi at all, there's a great series right now, 4 shows on Hulu, and it's powerful to watch what they went through and all the things that happened and how they came out the other side. Super powerful story. But
yeah, that's all my music. That's all when I was growing up. Bon Jovi is probably my junior high years, but Bon Jovi was, awesome, incredible.
Yeah, even people within network marketing that I followed and learned from, like I said, when I lost my dad to cancer and I was a mess for a couple of years, I went to YouTube and found a video of this short little dude that had this incredible attitude, and his name was Grant Cardone.
Oh, wow.
So I watched this video of an hour of him, and I'm like, who is this guy? No punches, he's all in on everything that he's doing. And for me, when I get to that point, it's like, I'm going to go all in, and I'm going to meet him, and I'm going to find out what the deal is with him. So I ended up actually pitching him a network marketing business in his office. And I've got so many shout outs from him and messages, but just being met, like watching that guy go from where he was, I don't know, 7-8 years ago when I met him, to what he's done now, billionaire in real estate. He was already successful, but he was playing in that network marketing space a little bit, and went down there to meet him and pitch him and got to know him and hang out. But I've always been like that. Who's the biggest person in the room? I'm going to go meet them and do whatever it takes to get in front of them. I may be introverted in some ways, but I'm super extroverted in other ways. It's like, I want to know who is the player because I want to learn what they know.
That's awesome.
Because that way you can go and duplicate, replicate, learn that kind of stuff.
What
So
would you say, like having that time with Grant and watching his videos? What of anything would you say would be a success principle you've learned from him?
You have to show up to blow up. You got to be there. You know, you have to be that person that's willing to be uncomfortable, be uncommon,
Yeah.
to make things happen, take risks. You know,
And Brett, let me ask you something, Brett. You know, you use that term "all in," and that's an uncommon term, definitely all in. You know, but I remember the first time you said it tonight, talking about your story. It was going all the way back to being a goalie and the mindset that you had. You know, playing 300 nights out of 365. You were all in. Where would you say that attitude cultivated from? You know, because I know it was way before all these great mentors and all these great friends and athletes and musicians. You know, you were kind of moving that way early. And
right.
what would you attribute that to? All in.
I think because my family moved around so much, and I was always that on the outside, wasn't the popular kid in high school, was not that extrovert that would, you know, go to a high school party and show up. But then I started, you know, I just had some natural talent, I guess, when it came to playing goal. And I started to get recognized and seen. And once that happened, that's what created that all-in attitude. It's like, hey, I can really do something with this. I can go to the next level. I can make something happen here. And that slowly started to work for me. Like I hate to lose. You know, I hate to lose more than I like to win, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
You know, so and sometimes that's a detriment. Like you can do the wrong thing because you want to win so bad. You know, that can affect you in, you know, relationships and business and different things like that. But so I hated to lose when I was when I was playing sports. It was like, I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, I had to play a game one time where I forgot my cup for hockey, and it's goalie. It's just probably the worst thing in the world. Well, we won that game 3-0, no goals against, because I was all in on making sure when that puck hit, it was hitting the spots that I was protected. So,
I love it.
And that's where it came from.
I love it. I love it. Hey,
I think that's one of the things, Clayvon, that is so important that I picked up on is he started to have some wins, started to get that confidence, and then you just build upon that. And it's like that book, Make Your Bed. And I don't know if you've heard that, but it just talks about like the importance of getting those small wins every single day and then just build upon it. Like how you start your day, make the bed, get, at least I got one win in, and then just kind of, building upon all of those things. And so I just think that that's interesting. And I just wanted to kind of point out that it's important every single day to get those wins and build upon those wins and keep going. And I love the whole concept, I win or I learn. And I'm a lot like what Brett was saying. I'm one of those that I'm not necessarily a sore loser, but I don't like to lose. I really, whether it's playing golf or playing ping pong or playing whatever, I'm the type that would just want to just keep playing and playing and playing. And if they're going to beat me, that's okay, because I'm learning. So I would go back. I remember back in junior high wrestling, and one of my friends was the best in the state, a 4-time state champion. Went and wrestled for the University of Wyoming, and it was one of those things that I knew 100% he was way better than I was. And I knew the only way that I had a chance to get anywhere near as good is just to continue to wrestle and wrestle and wrestle and let him beat me and beat me and beat me and beat me, because I had to switch my mindset because if somebody hates to lose, a lot of times they're going to not put themselves through all those losses that it takes them in order to improve. But you have to switch that mindset to be like, okay, I'm not winning or losing. This guy is at a much higher skill level than I am. The only way I'm going to get to that skill level is to start learning and learning and learning and learning. And then all of a sudden you could get to the time that every now and again I would beat him. And it would have never happened if I just give up. Does that make sense? It's kind of that concept that people have to make, that thought in their mind has to change from winning and losing to know, okay, he's beating me, but I always looked at it this way. He's beating me because of the rules or the time that is in that game. And
Right.
that's one of the things that I started to love so much about business was there isn't a time limit. You know, the whole thing of success, if they said, okay, you have 3 months to become successful, then it would be much, much more difficult, but it's not that way. You know, you have all of this time. I saw something earlier today. I don't know whose podcast it was on, but trying to think of who it was that was saying it. But basically he was explaining that, you know, don't panic. He said that a 50-year-old has at least 200% more chance of being successful than a 30-year-old. And the point that he mentioned that, he said, and the reason why is mindset. They've gone all this time and they've been able to switch the mindset that so often maybe a 30-year-old or a 20-year-old, they might have the drive and stuff like that, but they start losing and then all of a sudden they give up and they quit. And he talked about the reason is that they'd have a better chance of having success is the mindset. And he talked about like Henry Ford, built the first car when he was like 45 years old. And they talked about Warren Buffett, who's 93 now, worth $100 and some billion. 99% of his wealth was all created after the age of 50. And, talked about Colonel Sanders, starting his first Kentucky Fried Chicken when he was like 65 or something like that. It failed and went out of business. And then when he got a Social Security check, he started to build out the franchises and then built a successful business. JCPenney, basically lost the entire savings and completely almost bankrupt. And his kids are saying, no, just give up, just quit. And he was like 70 or 80 years old when he finally, got JCPenney's up and running. And so they just talk about all of these people that have had success well after the age of 40. And
Right.
so, but it happens by what Brett said. I don't want to, go on this topic too long, but I hate to lose. I hate to lose also, but I understand that I have to learn. And
Right.
so I quit losing and started learning. So I win or I learn. I don't lose.
Right.
And so that's just kind of that how you think about things and the mindset that you put, determines, because if I hate to lose and I start losing, what am I going to do? I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that anymore. But if I switch that and say, okay, I hate to lose, I need to learn so that I stop losing.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Or you can do what a lot of people do now, and it's about their ego. So they compete in an arena that they know they're going to win.
Yeah.
Because it's good for their ego, but it's not good for their, for their health, their mindset, and moving forward.
Yeah.
They're not going to grow.
Yeah.
They're stuck in that arena.
So Brett, one thing about this podcast that I admire the most is that, obviously the episodes are archived and a young man from, 16 up can go and look at these 25 and eventually 2,500, 25,000, 250,000 episodes. And they can hear from someone like you and so many others a roadmap to success in 5 key areas, and again, this first pillar of the uncommon movement, this first, really powerful concept of health and fitness, health and wellness, as we put this thing together and hearing Dan speak about it, so many things are important to us as it pertains to success. But what's more important than our health and our fitness, right? Being here to enjoy what we've accomplished and what we've built and, in our experiences. So we got to start there, right? And I want to ask you, when it comes to health and fitness, how important is that to you in your concept of success? Are there certain things that you're doing now? What is your health and fitness routine like? Diet wise, exercise, is there anything that you do that you could recommend? And let's just talk about what health and fitness means to you.
Well, you've already won the day when you open your eyes. If you get to open your eyes, you've already won the day. So now when you get to physically and mentally grow from that, that's 10x winning. And for me, having that background in sports, I've always got to be doing something, and love being in nature, because that's a whole grounding experience. That's a whole other health game in itself. And because of my wife's business and me going to help her and hiking and doing all that kind of stuff, definitely. Not going to lie, could my diet be better? Could be way better. But, at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, both physically and mentally, you have to get that straight first. That's the most important thing. And the crazy thing is, you've seen story after story online of, somebody that's 300 pounds that gets down to 150, 160 pounds because they put in the work and effort. And we've talked about this already multiple times. You just have to start and not quit. You have to set some kind of goal, target, something that you can achieve every single day, some little thing,
Yeah.
When we were doing the hiking thing, it was like, man, I was sucking wind after 2 miles. Now we do 10 miles and it's, it's no problem at all. We go out and do that every day in the morning, get that done, get to be out in nature. Can't beat it.
Yeah. Awesome. I think we can, we're probably going to have a real good powwow on this second one. Because I heard,
Well, before we get there, just really quick, Clavon, is there anybody that you follow on that, Brett? Any books you've read? Anybody that you listen to their podcasts on health and fitness? Anybody that you follow on Instagram or anything like that?
I'm really into fasting and Dave Asprey and his books, what he's doing. There's a great book, and now it's audio, but there's a book called Life Force by Tony Robbins. Yeah. If you haven't heard that yet, you need to go listen, because of technology and where we are in the world, all these little things that they can do and all the little hacks. And if you listen to the audio book, it's quite funny, because Tony Robbins talks about he had this, shoulder injury and he did all these different things. And he found this one guy that helped him fix his shoulder injury through certain things. And he liked it so much that he bought the company. And he says that about 20 times from all these different things, and he's into, cold plunging and all those different things. So, Tony Robbins, Asprey, Tim Ferriss does a bunch of things. Anything that we can kind of.
For Our Bodies, one of the highly recommended books, and in my opinion, if anybody hasn't read 4 Hour Body, I love it, because he just goes through all of the theories and then he tests them himself and gives testimonials. This worked for me. It didn't really work. This worked. This is the science behind it. So I just really like how Tim Ferriss does everything, because he's just kind of like, he'll go check everything out, look at the science, look at everything. And then he, most of the time, uses himself as a human guinea pig and then says, that this is how it works. This is the things that I recommend. This is what I've had the best successes. We just like to do that in these areas, especially this, Brett, because health is so important. We're not necessarily saying, hey, you got to be a fitness model or you got to have a 6-pack or anything like that. But we're just trying to get people to pay attention to their health, just so that they can add as many life to their years as they possibly can. The MDs and stuff like that, they're doing an okay job at adding more years to people's lives. They're living longer. But there's a lot of people that the last 10, 20, some cases 30 years of their life is just there's no quality there. They're alive, but they're not living. And so with this uncommon movement, we want to just get people paying attention to it a little bit sooner, realizing how important it is. And some things, when you lose it, it's too late. You can't go back. The consequences are too severe. So you need to pay attention to it. And so that's just kind of one of those things. The other thing I like to point out is this is something we're pretty much 100% in control of. You have to earn it. You can't buy it. And I love what you said. People that when they really get determined, they can literally go from 300 pounds to 150 pounds, and they could do that in as little as 1 year. And in health and fitness and in finances, in 2024 with the global economy, 1 year can completely change your life. One great year can change everything. In my own business, I've seen people go from zero, knocking doors, behind on their house payments and everything like that, and make $1,968,000 first year.
That's crazy.
1 year can completely change your life, but you have to make some decisions. You have to find the mentors. You have to put in the work. You have to get the mindset, and that's really what we're talking about. So, sorry, Clayvon, I just wanted to see if there was anybody that he recommended. So we got Dave Asprey, we got Tony Robbins, we got Tim Ferriss.
David
I 100%
Goggins
agree. Who was that?
David Goggins.
Yeah, David Goggins, mindset. Man,
one of the things with health is that, there's the saying of, is it day one or 1 day?
Yeah,
that is not, when it comes to health, you got to throw that out.
Yeah.
It's not 1 day. 1 day is this day. It's the now day. It's you opened your eyes, you got another shot. Get busy.
Yeah, I loved how you pointed that out also. One of my favorite things is, I don't know who I first heard it from. I've heard many people say it. And I heard it maybe a couple decades ago when they talk about the $1 Million Morning. In fact, I think I've heard Grant Cardone talk about that. But it's just that whole concept. Who would like $1 million cash right now in a room? Everybody raises their hand. I would. And then you say, okay, there's one catch. You're not going to wake up tomorrow. You still want the $1 million. And everybody says, no. And then what does that mean? That means you're saying right there that every morning that you open your eyes and you wake up is worth more than the $1 million. But you never think about that. So much of everything is just that mindset. And so I love what you talked about is just like, when I actually wake up, it's already a great day. And that is, and that's why they call that the $1 Million Morning, because, just opening your eyes is worth more than $1 million to, pretty much the entire world. So let's go ahead and jump on, Clayvon. Sorry about that.
No. That's real good stuff, man. I hope people catching these nuggets every day is day one. But then what you said, Campy, it's not lighthearted, man. We are in control. It's the one thing that we are absolutely in control of, and that's how we attack our health. And you always say that, Dan, and that's a very profound statement. Brett, as we move on, this second, I like to call them pillars, everything that stands on some foundation. And the second foundation, if I listen, at the end of the day, this is what changed my life, is starting to think a little bit about financial literacy many years ago, specifically a focus on knowing the difference between linear income and residual income, understanding the power of residual income, leading to a place where you could find some freedom through being leveraged. And I think that's very, very, very important. So we want to talk about this for a second, Brett, because I remember hearing your story, and you use the mathematical common sense to get into network marketing. Hey, I can buy this product wholesale, or I can buy this product and save money. I know that probably was a big part of you joining the industry, but did you fall in love with the financial literacy or the residual income dynamics of network marketing. But whatever the case is, what's your insight as a global businessman? What's your message to the world as it pertains to financial literacy? And can you talk a little bit about the difference between linear income and residual income?
Yeah, for sure. Well, more residual is better than none. Let's look at it that way, right? I mean, I worked corporately for 27 years. I peaked. I couldn't make any more money. They weren't going to pay me any more money. So I started to, what else is out there? What else can I do? And literally the gal in my office brought her husband over. They sat down and they started to draw these circles on a piece of paper. And I looked at that and went, I can literally franchise myself through other people and create residual income with no overhead, no inventory, no employees, no hassles, So that was my sort of first dive into residual based income. And then, like I said, when I walked away, I had a pile theory. Well, the craziest thing about the pile theory is it goes away pretty quick. And you don't know what the governments in both countries are going to do. Like we just went through something here where they're changing. They're coming after the people with money. Let's put it that way. And they want to change the game. Well, if you're a $500,000 business, not business, but I don't know, you're an employee, but you make really good money. Well, that money is going to get hit over and over and over, inflation, whatever the government does. Whereas if you can create residual income, it's as residual as you want it to be. You can grow it as big as you want it to become. And, I was really, really fortunate when I was in my first network marketing company that I got to be mentored by a gentleman that was making 8 figures in that little soap company. So much so that they, way back in the day, going back again, for our motivation, what we had to listen to cassettes. You throw the cassette in the car and you got trained and all that kind of stuff. Well, I took that whole organization, tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 people, switched them from tapes to CDs. And because of it, I got a backstage pass to all these guys that were multi-millionaires because I got flown around all over North America to go record their talks and then edit it up and put out a CD. Now, I blew it because what I should have done is said, I want a 5% royalty on every CD that gets moved through the organization. Oh. I wouldn't be here today if that had happened. All the CDs. And there are CDs that are like 10 years old that are still moving through that organization. So I had this backdoor pass to see how these guys operated and what they did and investing in real estate. And it was really, really unique to see guys at that level. And then to follow somebody like Grant and learn from him what he's doing, residual based and all the real estate stuff that he does. So, I personally think the 9 to 5 thing is dead. Like I look at my kids and go, if you are going to try and get a job and make it, it's going to be tough. And both my kids are entrepreneurial. My daughter has her own dog walking business, absolutely loves it. My son's still figuring it out. But, the great thing about network marketing and residual is you can do it and transition out of that 9 to 5. And that's ultimately what I did. I went and learned my skill set, got out of my own way when it came to meeting and talking to people, back in the time when you couldn't go to Facebook and send somebody a message, whether it was a warm market or cold market. You went to a coffee shop and stood up and talked to somebody that you didn't know, or went to a gas station and, hey, that's a nice looking car. What do you do for work? Really? So how do you like it? Dan's laughing because he knows these approaches.
Yeah.
And back in my real learning phase of creating residual income, it was always in a coffee shop when cell phones were just coming out. And it was like, well, that's an interesting cell phone because for me, I needed a line that I felt comfortable with. And it was always about the cell phone because there was flip phones, there was Blackberries back then. And it was the, Okay, Brett, go and do it. You got 20 seconds to go talk to that guy. Hey, that's a great looking phone. What do you do for work that you use a phone like that? And you get that thing going, and you'd find out, they got a 9 to 5. Well, have you ever thought about doing anything that could create a residual income? I help people private franchise themselves, and that's how you get going on it.
Dan, let me ask Brett a quick question before we turn it over for you for some insight on this number 2. Brett, you had said that I think that's very honest. You just told your children straight up. I think a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week for 40 years, I think that system might be a little dead. And you said like your daughter she has a dog walking business. Your son's about to figure it out. That caught my attention because I'm going to ask you a question. And Dan, I want your insight on this too, because Dan, you've led, individuals in the hundreds of thousands that are trying to get into that entrepreneurial space. But Brett, why do you feel it's so hard for people to creatively think about starting their own business and building residual income? Like, why is it such a gap when it comes to the courage or people thinking they can do it? Why do they feel it's so difficult? Is it that difficult? I don't think it's that difficult. But why do you feel that people are so scared to launch out, and just try to start a business and build residual income?
Well, I think it really comes down to education. Like, people aren't taught that. It's like, I mean, if you could go back and reset the school system, especially now with AI, and like, you should learn taxes in high school, like not just basic taxes and accounting, but like a little bit of a deep dive. AI, entrepreneurship, like those are electives that you don't take, or you got to get permission to be able to take it. The system wants you creating a job, and that there's a whole, you could go down a deep dark tunnel with political stuff with this, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to, people follow their parents.
Okay.
They're just duplicating what they see and what they know. And it's the rare person that steps out, that figures something out, or they have some life experience and go, it's like when I lost my dad, I was like, I was done. Now it's time to figure out something else, and I'm not going to work for somebody else. I'm too competitive. I need to win. I need to compete. And I'll go find an arena that I can do it in. And residual income just makes the most sense.
Got it.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree a lot with that, but I think it's like what we started out the podcast with. I think people are afraid to do something that doesn't have a guarantee, because they don't want to be in that situation that they go in and they work their butt off, and then it doesn't work out and they have nothing to show for it. And hard work doesn't always pay the bills if it's entrepreneurship, and that's a frustrating thing. If I'm trying to build a team, a global distribution network, it has very little to do with what I do. Meaning, if I have to get hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people to purchase a product or a service in order for me to make a good living, that I can't get them myself. So it's one of those things that takes a lot of belief in the process, that if I just keep doing this day in and day out, it's going to happen. That anything that the longer the results take to measure, the more difficult and the bigger the success gap is going to be. That's the same issue with weight loss. We all know what to do, but we do it for a few days and then we stop doing it. We do it for a few days and then we stop doing it. It's kind of like, if there's the bright sun out there and we have some dry grass and we have a magnifying glass, we can pretty easily start a fire. But we have the sun, we have the magnifying glass, we have the dry grass. If we're holding that magnifying glass there all the way till it starts smoking and then we move it, and then you let it cool off and you do it again until it's smoking and then you move it, you're never going to start a fire. And that's what so many people do in businesses. They'll start a business and then they'll start working a little bit and then it's not going as fast as they thought, so they quit. and then they start over. I literally know some people that have been on that merry-go-round for 3 decades, hundreds of companies that they've tried, and they get it going a little bit, and then it's not going fast. So here's the bottom line. This is something that my mom told me all the way back, probably junior high or high school. This is a fact. Results take time to measure. You have to have a little bit more of a game plan. I tell people in this business, and Brett already hit it on the head. The great thing about it is you can start that guaranteed income, that hourly wage, and you do this in your spare time. This is something that if you look at the average person that gets to a 6-figure residual income, it takes them 3 years. The average person to get to 7 takes 7 years in the network marketing space. And we do need to jump on because we have a couple more things to go. But before I do that, I do want to just give a really quick explanation of what we're talking about here with residual income, because some people may not know. So the 2 main types of income, you have linear income. That's trading your time for money. So that's just when I go to a job and they pay me a salary for 40 hours a week, they'll pay me this much, or they just pay me for the hour. If I'm not working, I'm not getting paid. That's linear income. Residual income is having the ability to get paid on over and over and over on something that you've already done. So a perfect example with that Brett's been talking about, selling soap. So I buy this soap, I go and I get 10 customers, and they buy it, I get my commission. And then next month, if those 10 buy it again, then I get paid on that again. And I didn't have to go find those 10. I already found them last month. Or I have a service or real estate, or you have actors and actresses and singers that get royalties. Those are all things that create that residual income. So selling something that has a monthly subscription that you get paid every single month on, or owning something that people pay rent on, and you get that every single month, that's what we're talking about. Our goal here, everything we're doing with Uncommon, is trying to get people to have control of their 2 most valuable assets as human beings, their health and their time. I'll tell you, you could not pay me enough money with what I know about residual income. You could not pay me enough money to be like a high-paid attorney or a surgeon or something like that. $2 million, $5 million. I don't care, because I'm having to work the most stressful jobs in the world for 50, 60, 70 hours. I have to carry a beeper with me, and they call me at 3 a.m. and I have to go in and do an emergency surgery. I get that maybe 1 or 2 weeks vacation a year, and there's a chance that if something happens, I have to leave that vacation. And even though I may be making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars as a surgeon, I'm only making money when I'm doing that surgery. The benefit that they have is that some of them make a high enough wage that they can start investing that, and investments create that residual income, getting that money to work for them so they can eventually control their time. We're all about control your health, control your time. So that's really the entire goal of this Uncommon movement. Now, how do we do that? That's the next 2 things we're going to talk about. So the next one, personal development. Most people have to have some sort of personal development, or else they quit as soon as something gets hard. So they have to develop this right here to stop being a quitter, to stop being a little baby and expect everything to be perfect, expect everything to be hard or easy. And then you have to start to say, hey, I'm fine with it being hard. In fact, make it really hard. I prefer to do things that are hard, and here's why. Because I know every single other person that I'm competing with, almost all of them are going to quit. So what's your mindset? You want to do easy things? Okay, everybody can do that. That means you're easily replaced. Learn to like the hard. Learn to like that it's hard. Appreciate that it's hard. Because if it was easy, there wouldn't be big income available. So it's just those mindsets. But in order to create that mindset, you have to work on it. Because for whatever reason, as human beings, our factory, default setup is to be negative, to quit, to expect things to be. Really, it's just the exact opposite. So if you look at how almost everybody is, including yourself, until you work on that through mentors, through personal development, you almost have to be the opposite of that in order to be successful. So that's really what in getting that mindset and just that perseverance and that discipline and all of those to focus with your health and fitness, to focus with, residual income, controlling your time. That's personal development. That's why it's so important to achieve those first two things. So just quick, Brett, personal development. You've already talked about several mentors. You've talked about Grant Cardone. You've talked about even some of the athletes, I'm sure Mark Messier, you said he's your cousin?
No, I played with his cousin.
Oh, played with his cousin. So, just Brett Hull, some of those guys, obviously, I'm sure that you can learn a lot from them for mindset and work ethic and those different types of things. And you've talked about other people in business and even, Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss, David Goggins. They all have a lot of great things. Any other books that you've read on personal development, on mindset, on business, people you follow on Instagram, people you listen to their podcasts?
We don't have enough time for me to list all the people. I still have the original Personal Power cassette from Tony Robbins. Like, that's how far back getting into personal development goes for me.
If you're going to talk about just that one in particular, is there any one nugget that you learned from Tony Robbins, from any of his stuff?
Oh boy. Yeah, you just say message over and over. It's, you have to show up.
Yeah.
You have to be the person that wants to get to the other side.
What does that mean, to show up? Like, if you're going to say you have to show up, you've said it several times. What would you say that means? If Brett's going to show up, what does that mean?
There's an expectation of achieving a goal, wanting to do something better. And like you said earlier, it may take a while. It's okay to lose. I don't like to lose, but if I learn along the way, I showed up so that I could experience something. It's like going to an event. If you learn just one thing, if you take one thing away that helps improve your mindset, you won. That's personal growth to me. I mean, network marketing really is personal growth with a product attached to it. Yeah. That's really what it is. If you're in the right business and you have the right, mentors behind you, that's really what it is. You're growing all the time, and people don't go to events. People, I'll do it tomorrow. It'll happen tomorrow. Well, no, it won't. I mean, you gotta be tweaking your brain continuously. Like,
the biggest thing I've learned, Brett, in personal growth and development is that it's an action-based thing in order to be successful. Mm-hmm. I know so many people that have read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, know it in and out way better than I do. And they don't take the action. They know it. They know everything to do, but they don't do it. What do you think it is that keeps people from doing it? Yeah, I'm sure, like, I know people that have gone to at least a half a dozen Tony Robbins events that they paid $10,000 to $15,000 to. They go to Grant Cardone's 10X. They go to, all of these events, Eric Worre's events, stuff like that. Some of them I know. I literally know people that for the last 5 years have spent $50,000 to $100,000 a year in going to these events, and they're still not having any success. So I like to explain that there's a big difference between personal development and learning the stuff, and then actually incorporating the stuff.
Right.
What's your feeling on that? How do you go from just participating, getting all excited, the rah, getting the motivation, and then you go home and 2 or 3 days later, you're just back into the same old rut.
Back on the couch.
Comfort zone. Yeah.
I think for people, it's really a fear of failure. Like, people are scared. They just don't want to. They don't want to dive in. They don't want to stand out. They're afraid to separate themselves from the crowd. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've had to learn. I had to step out of my own comfort zone to be able to achieve some of the things that we've achieved. That's just that's just the way that works. Like if you're you can't move forward if you're in a state of fear all the time. It's like in the network marketing space, if people really wanted to succeed, if we change the game, like the playing field is level for everybody. Anybody can get in.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden the entry point was $10,000, you'd have the winners because they're not going to come in and mess around.
Yeah.
They're going to get busy. So people are just afraid to move forward. And it's part of that could be whatever they're looking to obtain, their goal setting, their idea behind, what's my outcome here? What am I hoping to achieve? Do I want to feel good because I showed up at an event, or do I want to go home and apply those things and make some things happen?
I think one of the biggest things is that you have to take responsibility, and that's what people don't want to do.
Yep.
No, I honestly believe that the reason so many people don't go all in is because they want to blame somebody else. They want to blame something else. And they feel if I go all in and I don't succeed, then I can only blame myself. There's nobody else to blame. And so I really think that holds them back because they can always say, oh, but I didn't try that much, or, I was too busy, or they can, come up with all of these excuses. If they don't go all in, if they go all in, now all of a sudden it's just nobody but themselves. You really can't say anything about it other than, man, I don't know. I just didn't give it what I just didn't stick with it, or whatever the case is. So I really think that people don't like to take responsibility. And that brings us perfectly to this fourth part of accountability. And when we talk about accountability, it fits in a little bit with personal development. But I think that in order to have accountability, there has to be some sort of system in place, or some sort of agreement, or some sort of decision or goal that I know in order to hold somebody accountable. So, Brett, just really quick, what are your feelings on accountability? And, is it anything that you think about, or anything that's helped? Is it just self-accountability? Does it help to have accountability partners? What's your thought?
I think it's all important. You got to have accountability partners. My family is my biggest accountability partner. My wife of 40 years, my kids. My goal has always been to have my kids stand on my shoulders and see further than I've ever seen. So that's an accountability thing. Your health is an accountability thing. You have to hit the gym, fitness, exercise. All those things are, creating accountability. In business, having, whoever your partners are, your team, being accountable to them, all those things matter. You can't be that person that, if you're on an island by yourself and you don't have to be accountable to anybody, then how do you create that? I wouldn't know how to do it. No clue on how you create accountability unless you incorporate people around you all the time.
And one of the biggest things that I believe with accountability is that you have to find out their goals, or what they're trying to accomplish, or there really is no accountability. You don't have anything to hold them accountable to.
Yeah.
Or you have to have a system. And the reason I think that, like, if you're looking at the network marketing industry as a whole, the reason it's so difficult to create success is even if you have a perfect proven system, you can't enforce it. You can't, make people follow the system. It's not like McDonald's or Starbucks or something like that. If you buy a McDonald's franchise, you've put up enough money, hundreds of thousands or $1 million, that you're not just going to have them take that away from you. So it's one of those things that I'm going to follow their system exactly because A, I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't already believe that it was going to work. And B, if I don't follow it exactly, they're going to take the franchise away from me. And so having a proven system that you can enforce is the best chance of success. The next best one is having a system that you can at least hold them accountable, whether it's their goals, what they said they're going to do, their word. And so I do think that it's a important part. And the reason I think it's so important is we already know most people, and I'll raise my hand here on this one, is that we don't have a lot of self-respect. We lie to ourselves all the time. Look at New Year's resolutions as a perfect example. Some years I could go a decade and have the same New Year's resolution to get in shape, to do this, to do that. And then the next year, it's the same resolution and the same resolution. Because for whatever reason, we literally, most people, I'm not speaking for everybody, I am speaking for myself, we have no problem with lying to ourselves. A lot of times we say, okay, I'm going to start this diet on Monday. And then by Wednesday, we're already off of it. We lie to ourselves, lie to ourselves, lie to ourselves. So the reason that accountability is part of this uncommon movement and what we talk about is because most people don't have enough self-respect to hold their word that they give themselves. Far often, we'll hold our word that we give to somebody else much more often than the words that we or the promises that we make to ourselves. And so because of that, it is important to have some sort of accountability system in order to help people be successful. I mean, just think of like the Army, for instance. If the Army didn't have an exact accountability system, that you have your, what all of your different ranks, and they have an exact, you have to do what they say. There's no choice. If you agree with them or not, you have to do what they say. You have to wake up, you have to dress, you have to make your bed the way, you have to tie your shoes the way they say, you have to do everything the way they say. And it's so important that they have that accountability there, because people's lives are going to depend on you doing it exactly. Now, in business, your lives don't depend on it, but your success does depend on it. And so we really do think that this is an important aspect in order to, again, remember the whole reason for the personal growth and development, the whole reason for the accountability is so that you can have your health under control and have your finances and control your time. That's the whole thing that that we're doing here.
I mean, think about, I call it the hook. If I don't have a hook when it comes to Dan and his accountability, whether it's health, network marketing, if there's no hook, if I can't come back to you and say, well, Dan, what about what you said 3 months ago? Has that gone out the door?
Yeah.
Is that not true anymore? And that's the only way you can bring people back and make them accountable.
Yeah. I just like to point that out because it is something that's so important. And then the last thing that we focus on. So again, our goal being pretty simple. The goal literally is to help people be in as good a shape as they possibly can for as long as they possibly can, control their time, and then just to keep people grounded and in life and stuff like that. The fifth thing that we focus on is giving back. And this is a perfect example right now of you giving back over an hour of your time. Time, again, one of our most valuable assets. No matter how much money you have, you can't even buy an extra minute or an extra hour. And so you given an hour and 19 minutes so far of your time to help other people get these little nuggets, get these little things. But so I like to point that out, that it's not all just money when we're talking about giving back. Your time is just as valuable as money, but it's something I'm super passionate about. And, I just like to kind of get your opinion on giving back and if it's anything that you focused on or not everybody does. So it's not a problem. Not everybody has to, but it's something that we really want to push, because there's so many people that need help, whether it's knowledge, whether it's, just being nice. That's giving back, just be a nice human being.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many arenas that you can go into when it comes to giving back. Like you said, the time here, our whole family is really, really passionate about pets, and seeing some of the devastation that happens there, and, being able to give our time back and some of our money back to be able to help animals that need it, and, donate and things like that. some people don't give back to their own families. And I just can't imagine not being there and giving back to my kids, both time, money, teaching. Those things are all super important to me, and then there's, getting to those other levels where you can offer more money to different causes. That's important to me as well. Not at that level yet. So most of it's in the realm of time, but it's something to work for sure. Work towards.
Goes a long ways, and really is in many times just as important as the giving back with the money and stuff like that. But Brett, we really do appreciate your time. I definitely got some good nuggets and things like that throughout the podcast. I'm sure Clayvon did also. Clayvon, anything that you want to add to giving back or anything before we close out here? Just any last words on this Uncommon Monday?
I just thought it was a great episode, man. I thought, Brett brought it, man. Calm and cool, laid back. But if you could read between the lines, you've had an extraordinary life. Brett, I mean, I think, you met some amazing people that, most of us would only dream about meeting and networking with and being mentored by and doing business with. So I just really think it was really full of some great nuggets. And I hope people appreciate that. And they can always come back, Dan. That's the one thing about this podcast. It's archived excellence, So everyone knows on YouTube, guys, I'll say it as we close out. Please subscribe to the channel, join the family, join the network, like, share, all that good stuff. Do the same thing on our social media outlets. Like and share, man. Information is power. Apply it, share it. And, we're going to throw it back to you, Brett. Let Dan close out. Brett, any closing words, man, for all the audience, the world out there? We appreciate you, bro.
Gosh, any closing words? Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This has been a ton of fun and really, really appreciate it. I guess it just goes back to where I started. It's about knowing what you want and going after it and showing up.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what your why is, because if you don't have a why, you're not going to go out. There's nothing to go after. That's the most important thing, in my opinion. Figure out why you're here, what you want, where you want to go, who you need to bring along with you and help make all those goals and dreams come true.
Yeah. I think that if I was going to break down what does it take in order to become successful, I would just say the first thing that it takes is you have to make a decision. You have to decide that you're going to be successful. The second thing, it's going to take the game plan, the mindset, and things like that. And at the same time, it's going to take the belief. So I'd actually put it in a little bit different order. I'd say make the decision, number one. Number two, have the belief that you can do it, realizing that results take time to measure, realizing that you don't win or lose, you win or learn. There's not a time limit. I'm a huge sports fan, and there's so many games, there's so many events that if it was just 2 seconds longer, the outcome would have been different. You don't have that pressure here with success in life. We don't know how long we're going to be here, but as long as we are still waking up and opening our eyes, we're going to have the chance that we're still in the game. We haven't lost. We're still winning. You only lose when you quit. So make the decision. You're going to be successful. That literally is your choice. Have the belief in yourself, and then you're going to find the mentors. You're going to find the opportunity, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how bad you want success, how bad you want to make money. Opportunity has to be present in order for change to take place. Here's the good news. We live in a global economy right now, and opportunity is everywhere. I mean, if you just look at an example, Mr. Beast sold his YouTube channel where they just started off by doing stupid, dumb pranks. But I love that guy with all the good he's done. Almost every single episode that he did was giving back, having fun, but giving back, giving away cars, giving away all kinds of things, giving away I bet you he's given away hundreds of millions of dollars. But doing that, you have just an average person, a human being, just like everybody else, that sold his YouTube channel that was free to create for, I think, $5 billion to Disney. Sold his YouTube channel for $5 billion. And literally, they just started that thing with doing pranks and jokes. And for the first year, they had no following, had nothing. And there's so many other examples. That's the biggest example, that you start a YouTube channel and sell that for $5 billion and giving away hundreds of millions of dollars while you're doing it. But there's so many people that are making thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars on free social media accounts, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, whether it's a combination of all of them. The opportunity is there, but you have to realize, make the decision, have the belief, find the opportunity, stay consistent. I'll leave it at this: show up.
Yeah.
That's it, man. That's it. So, guys, I'll tell you something. Like we tell every week, we will be back next Monday with another uncommon gentleman telling his story. And hopefully it'll be an inspiration to you and to, males from 16 and above all over the world. So, guys, this week we came, we saw, we conquered. Again, we'll be back next week. And thank everybody for joining us and participating. And again, Britt, thank you. You were awesome. Hey, guys, we are out of here.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.